The night before her wedding, Seraphina Lane signed a marriage contract with William Sterling, New York's coldest CEO, in exchange for her sister Audrey's freedom from dirty debt. She thought she'd merely be a ring on his finger. But at the reception, when loan shark Dante Cross appeared and whispered, the one he loved most was the betrayer. William's icy gaze suddenly blazed with fire, and their fake marriage began its violent turn. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Sterling Tower, each drop a reminder of time slipping away. Seraphina stood in the executive lobby at 11:47 p.m., her reflection ghost-like in the polished marble. 72 hours. That was all she had before Dante Cross would collect on Audrey's debt in ways that would destroy more than just credit scores. When William Sterling finally emerged from his private elevator, his presence commanded the space like winter claiming autumn. At 34, he'd built an empire on discipline and distance. His charcoal suit, as precise as his reputation. He didn't acknowledge the security guard who straightened, didn't glance at the abstract art worth more than most people's homes. His Arctic blue eyes found Seraphina and held. "Miss Lane, you have exactly 5 minutes to explain why my head of security allowed you past the lobby at this hour." She didn't flinch. Because Flynn Carter recognizes desperation when he sees it, and he knows you respect directness over protocol. The ghost of something interest perhaps flickered across William's features. He gestured toward the glass conference room, overlooking the city's glittering sprawl. Inside, Seraphina laid out the situation with surgical precision. Audrey, 22 and naive, had borrowed from Dante Cross to fund a charity project for homeless veterans. The paperwork she'd signed contained clauses that transformed good intentions into a nightmare of compound interest and hidden penalties. 200,000 had become 800,000 in 6 months. "I'm not asking for charity," Seraphina said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I'm offering a business arrangement. You need a wife to satisfy your board's concerns about stability and secure the Morrison acquisition. I need leverage to negotiate with Dante. A 12-month marriage contract. Clean, professional, mutually beneficial." William's expression remained carved from stone, but his fingers drummed once, just once against the glass table. "You've done your research. I'm a corporate event coordinator, Mr. Sterling. Research is survival." He stood, walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. The city below them pulsed with life, unaware of the deal being struck 50 floors above. "3 conditions," he said without turning. "First, 12 months, exactly, with option to extend only by mutual written consent. Second, complete separation of personal lives, separate bedrooms. No questions about my private affairs. Third, no emotional involvement. This is business." "Agreed." He turned then, studying her with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey or perhaps an equal. His gaze caught on the faint scar along her wrist, barely visible under her sleeve. Something shifted in his expression, too quick to name. "Archie Wells will have the papers ready within the hour," he said. "The wedding is tomorrow at 4. Vivian Brooks from PR will brief you on media management." As if summoned, the elevator chimed. Archie Wells entered, 63 years old, and sharp as the contracts he'd written for 3 decades. Behind him, Vivian Brooks moved like controlled lightning, her tablet already glowing with plans. "The prenup is standard Sterling protocol, with modifications," Archie explained, spreading documents across the table. "Financial separation, confidentiality clauses, penalties for public scandal. Mrs. Sterling-to-be will receive a monthly allowance of $50,000 for appearances and wardrobe, plus a completion bonus of $1 million if the contract runs full term without breach. The media strategy is critical," Vivian added, her British accent clipped and efficient. "We're framing this as a private romance that developed over months. I've already planted retrospective sightings. Any deviation from the narrative could tank Sterling Industries stock by 12%. From the private balcony, overlooking the conference room, Constance Sterling watched. At 58, William's stepmother maintained the kind of beauty that required dedication, discipline, and excellent surgeons. She smiled, a serpent recognizing opportunity. Even a compliant pawn can be useful. she murmured to the shadow beside her. Henry Dalton, the CFO whose ambitions exceeded his capabilities. The wedding unfolded like a military operation, dressed in white roses and Venetian crystal. The cathedral had been transformed overnight. Every surface, gleaming with the kind of perfection money could buy, but warmth could not. 400 guests filled the pews, board members, senators, journalists, whose pens could build or destroy empires. Seraphina walked the aisle alone, her dress a creation of structured silk that Constance had selected to emphasize elegance over emotion. Each step echoed in the vast space. She didn't look at the guests, whispering behind manicured hands. Didn't acknowledge the photographer whose camera clicked like an assault rifle. Her eyes found William at the altar, his expression unreadable as Sanskrit. "Dearly beloved," the officiant began, but the words felt hollow in the cathedral's vastness. The vows were contractual, carefully scripted by Vivian to sound romantic while saying nothing. William's hand was steady as he slipped the ring onto Seraphina's finger, a 10-carat diamond that felt like a shackle. The reception erupted in controlled chaos at the plaza. Champagne flowed like liquid gold, and the band played songs designed to encourage mingling without actual dancing. Seraphina stood beside William, playing the part of the glowing bride while her stomach churned. "Gold digger," someone whispered, loud enough to be heard. "She trapped him," another voice added. "Oldest trick in the book." Vivian appeared at Seraphina's elbow. "Smile. Every reaction is being photographed, uploaded, dissected. You're trending at number 3 nationally." That's when Dante Cross materialized from the crowd like smoke taking form. At 40, he wore respectability like a costume that didn't quite fit, his tailored tuxedo unable to hide the predator beneath. He approached William with a champagne flute raised in mock toast. "Congratulations, Sterling. Though I wonder if you know what you've married into." His voice dropped, meant only for William's ears, but Seraphina caught it. The one you loved most was the betrayer. History has such interesting ways of repeating. William's expression didn't change, but his hand found Seraphina's waist, pulling her against him with possessive force that made her breath catch. "Mr. Cross, I wasn't aware you received an invitation." "Oh, I have my ways. Just wanted to pay my respects. After all, your bride's family and I have such intimate connections." Security materialized, but Dante was already leaving, his message delivered like poison in a champagne flute. The penthouse reflected William's personality glass, steel, and distance. 2 master suites separated by a living space that could host a small nation, connected by nothing but necessity. William handed Seraphina a leather portfolio the moment they entered. "The house rules," he said. "Breakfast at 7, dinner at 8 when we're both in residence. Public appearances require 48 hours notice. All personal guests must be cleared through security. Any contact with Dante Cross is to be reported immediately." She opened the portfolio, scanning the typed pages. "You've thought of everything. I've learned to." He loosened his tie, the first human gesture she'd seen from him all day. "Your sister's debt has been transferred to my accounts. Dante has been paid in full with a written agreement that he'll have no further contact with your family." The relief nearly buckled her knees. "Thank you. Don't. This is business." He turned toward his suite, then paused. "There's one more thing. Tomorrow morning, you'll train with Flynn. Physical fitness is part of the Sterling image." Alone in her suite, Seraphina finally allowed herself to breathe. She'd traded one cage for another, but at least this one came with golden bars. Her phone buzzed Audrey, crying with relief and guilt in equal measure. From his study, William watched the city sleep. His phone rang, the number blocked. "Hello, William." The female voice was familiar, honeyed with false warmth. "I hear congratulations are in order. What do you want?" "Just checking in. After all, we have so much history. Does your new bride know about us? About what you did?" "There is no us. There never was. Dante seems to think differently. We should meet. Tomorrow. Usual place." The line went dead. William set down the phone, his reflection in the window showing nothing. But inside, old wounds began to bleed. Morning arrived with Flynn Carter, who looked like he'd been carved from military precision and tempered with experience. The Sterling Tower gym occupied an entire floor, its equipment more advanced than most medical facilities. "Mrs. Sterling." Flynn nodded. "We'll start with assessment." What followed was an hour of evaluation that left Seraphina surprisingly impressed. Flynn didn't treat her like a decorative addition to William's life. He watched how she moved, noted her balance, her instinctive positioning. "You've had training," he observed. "Self-defense classes. My neighborhood wasn't exactly Sterling Tower." "Good. We'll build on that." He handed her a towel. "Mr. Sterling values discipline and preparedness. You'll need both." Constance's etiquette lessons were another form of combat. The older woman circled Seraphina like a shark, evaluating prey, adjusting posture, criticizing pronunciation, demanding perfection. "In this family, even breathing must be done correctly," Constance said, her smile sharp as winter. "You're not just representing yourself now. Every gesture reflects on the Sterling name." "I understand." "Do you? Your sister certainly didn't when she came begging 3 months ago." Seraphina's blood chilled. "Audrey came to you?" "Oh, yes. Sweet girl. Desperate to avoid troubling you. I could have helped, of course. But William needed a wife. And you needed saving. Everything worked out perfectly, didn't it?" The implication hung like a blade. Seraphina forced her expression to remain neutral. But inside, pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Despite the suffocating control, Seraphina carved out moments of independence. She volunteered at the Veterans Center where Audrey's project had started, spending Tuesday afternoons serving meals and organizing donations. She didn't tell William, but Flynn's discreet presence suggested nothing escaped notice. The reports she filed for William's review were thorough but impersonal. He read them in his study, bourbon untouched beside him. She was playing the part perfectly. Too perfectly. Most women in her position would have tested boundaries, pushed for more. She asked for nothing beyond what the contract provided. She went to the Veterans Center again, Flynn reported during their morning briefing. "I know. The men respect her. She doesn't patronize them." William said nothing, but that afternoon, an anonymous donation of $200,000 appeared in the center's account. The email arrived on a Thursday morning. Sent to every board member simultaneously. "The new Mrs. Sterling is bait for a hostile takeover." Documents attached. Vivian's war room erupted into controlled chaos. 3 monitors displayed social media metrics while her team tracked the email's origin. Within an hour, hashtags were trending. Number Golddiggergate, number Sterling scandal, number bot bride. "Someone leaked the marriage contract," Vivian announced. Edited to remove context, naturally. They're painting Seraphina as a calculating opportunist who targeted William. "Kill it," William ordered. "Can't kill what's already viral. We need counter-strategy." The doctored video surfaced 2 hours later. Seraphina apparently discussing the plan with someone off camera, her voice manipulated to sound damning. The stock price wavered. "Press conference," Seraphina said, entering the war room uninvited. Full transparency within controlled limits. William's expression could have frozen hell. "Absolutely not. You hate exposure." "I understand. But silence looks like guilt." "I'll take point. You don't understand these people." "I understand survival, Mr. Sterling. Trust me or watch everything burn." The press conference was scheduled for 3 p.m. Vivian's team prepped Seraphina like a boxer before a title fight, but she pushed aside most of their scripted responses. The room bristled with anticipation, cameras aimed like weapons. Seraphina took the podium alone, William standing slightly behind, present but not prominent. "Good afternoon. I'll be brief and honest. Yes, my sister incurred a debt to Dante Cross. Yes, I married William Sterling partly to resolve that situation. But here's what the leaked documents don't show. I approached William with a business proposition that benefited us both. I take responsibility for protecting my family, but I've taken nothing from Sterling Industries. Every financial transaction is documented and legal." "Are you saying the marriage is fake?" a reporter shouted. "I'm saying it's complex, like most marriages. The difference is we're honest about it. Mr. Sterling, do you love your wife?" William stepped forward. his presence commanding silence. Love is a word people use carelessly. What I can tell you is that my wife has shown more integrity in 3 weeks than most people manage in lifetimes. Draw your own conclusions. The room erupted, but Vivian was already smiling. Within hours, public opinion shifted. The hashtags changed. Number, respect the hustle. Number, honest marriage. Number, sister savior. That evening, William found Seraphina on the Penthouse terrace, Manhattan glittering below. You took a significant risk today. Calculated risk. Important difference. She didn't look at him. The email was too sophisticated for a standard attack. Someone inside Sterling Industries wants me gone. I know. His admission surprised them both. I've been investigating quietly. Find anything? Ghosts. He joined her at the railing, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. Seraphina. There are things about my past. His phone buzzed. The message was simple. Dinner tomorrow. Dante's private room. Come alone, or the girl pays. Dante's restaurant occupied the top floor of a building that laundered money as efficiently as it served Wagyu. The private room was all dark wood and darker intentions, the windows tinted to obscure observation. Dante sat like a king receiving tribute, his smile sharp enough to cut glass. William. So prompt. Your wife should be joining us shortly. If you've touched her, relax. She's coming of her own accord. Amazing what people do when properly motivated. Seraphina entered then, her expression carefully neutral. She took the seat between them. A queen, claiming her board. Gentlemen, I was just explaining to William about our updated arrangement, Dante said. You see, paying off Audrey's debt was just round 1. Round 2 involves those Sterling server codes. The codes are encrypted with biometric locks, William stated, which is why I need both of you. Seraphina to provide leverage, William to provide access. Dante pulled out a tablet, showing surveillance footage Vivian Brooks entering her apartment. Your PR maven makes such interesting evening company. Would be a shame if something happened. Seraphina's hand found William's under the table, not for comfort, but to press something into his palm. A phone, already recording. You're threatening a Sterling employee, William said, his voice level. I'm negotiating. There's a difference. Dante leaned back. Those codes contain more than just client data. They contain evidence of certain transactions your stepmother would prefer stayed buried. Transactions that would destroy more than just her reputation. Behind the two-way mirror disguised as artwork, Seraphina knew Flynn was positioned. She'd messaged him from the bathroom, setting up what came next. Constance, William said, the name like ice-breaking. She's been feeding you information, among other things. Did you know she's been planning your replacement for 3 years? Henry Dalton's been such a loyal soldier, doctoring numbers, shifting funds, but he's sloppy. Those financial reports you sign, half are fiction. You're lying. Am I? Check the Morrison acquisition documents. Page 47, subsection C. Henry added a shell company to the vendor list. Guess who owns it? William's stillness was more frightening than rage. How long? Since before your father died. Constance always played the long game. The lights flickered Flynn's signal. Seraphina stood. We need those codes tonight? Within 24 hours. Or Vivian's evening gets very interesting. They left together. William's hand on Seraphina's back. Possessive and protective. In the elevator, she showed him her phone. The recording was corrupted. Deleted remotely. He has a signal jammer, she said. But Flynn got photos of everyone entering the building. It doesn't matter. He's right about Constance and Henry. William's expression was stone. I've suspected for months, but couldn't prove it. Then we prove it now. We? I'm your wife. Temporary or not, that means something to me. Back at the Penthouse, they worked through the night. Flynn had installed microscopic cameras throughout Sterling Industries, legal enough to pass scrutiny, but invasive enough to catch truth. Vivian traced the leaked emails through digital breadcrumbs that led to Henry's personal server. The Morrison documents, William said at 3 a.m. Coffee long cold beside him. Dante mentioned page 47. Seraphina pulled up the files, her event planning background making her surprisingly adept at spotting inconsistencies. Here. Harland Holdings. It's buried in the approved vendor list, authorized for $3 million in consulting fees. Harland is Constance's maiden name. The pieces formed a picture neither wanted to see. Constance had been siphoning money for years, using Henry's position to hide the trail. But more than that, she'd orchestrated Audrey's debt, pushed Dante to apply pressure, all to force William into a marriage that would destabilize him. She wanted you vulnerable, Seraphina said, distracted by a wife you didn't want, dealing with scandal, while she positioned Henry for a takeover. William stood, pacing to the window. My father would be destroyed. Your father is dead. You're not. He turned to her, something raw in his expression. Why are you helping me? Your contract is clear. You could walk away clean. Because Dante has my sister's life in his hands. Because Constance played with my family like chess pieces. She met his gaze. And because you don't deserve this, even if you are emotionally constipated. The ghost of a smile touched his lips. Emotionally constipated? You have the emotional range of a particularly stoic rock. Rocks don't feel betrayal. The admission hung between them. Seraphina moved closer. Not touching, but present. Want to tell me about her? The woman on the phone? Alexandra. We were engaged 4 years ago. She sold company secrets to our biggest competitor. Nearly destroyed everything my father built. Dante introduced us. He's been planning this for years. Yes. William looked at her then. Really looked. I'm sorry you got caught in this. I'm not. The honesty surprised them both. I mean, I could do without the death threats and corporate espionage. But, you're not who I expected. Morning brought crisis. Vivian was missing. Her apartment ransacked with surgical precision. The security footage showed nothing professionally erased. Flynn received a video file an hour later. Vivian bound to a chair. Dante's voice off camera. 24 hours becomes 6. The codes. Or she dies. William's control finally cracked. He threw his coffee mug against the wall. The shatter echoing through the penthouse. He wins. I can't. I won't have her blood on my hands. We're not giving him the codes, Seraphina said. Then what do you suggest? We give him codes. Just not the real ones. Archie Wells proved his worth within 3 hours, creating a duplicate set of access codes that would pass initial inspection but trigger hidden protocols when used. Flynn mobilized his network, former military who owed him favors, security specialists who operated in legal gray zones. The exchange will be at the docks, Dante's message specified. Pier 47, 5 a.m. Come alone, or she dies. It's a trap, Flynn stated. Obviously, William replied. But we're going anyway. That night, Seraphina couldn't sleep. She found William in his study, staring at documents without seeing them. You don't have to come tomorrow, he said. Yes, I do. This isn't your fight. You keep saying that. She sat across from him. When does it become my fight? When he threatens Audrey again? When Constance destroys everything? When they hurt you? I don't matter. You matter to me. The words landed like bombs in the silence. William stood, crossed to her. Knelt. Actually, knelt beside her chair. Seraphina, I don't know how to do this. Do what? Care, feel, whatever this is. She touched his face, felt him lean into it like a man starved for warmth. You're doing fine. I'm falling in love with you, he said. The words torn from somewhere deep. That wasn't supposed to happen. I know. You know? William, you've had me under surveillance since day one. You donated to my veterans center. You read every report I write like they're love letters. You're about as subtle as a heart attack. You're not upset? I'm terrified. She smiled through it, but not upset. He kissed her then, and it was nothing like the chaste press of lips at their wedding. This was desperate. Hungry. Real. When they broke apart, his phone was buzzing. Another video. This time, Audrey was with Vivian. Change of plans, Dante's voice announced. Both sisters for the codes. No substitutions. Hutan, Dante's. Voice. Chante's. Voice announced. Pier 47 squatted on the Hudson like a cancer, all rust and shadows in the pre-dawn darkness. Fog rolled off the water, thick enough to muffle sound, but not thick enough to hide the armed men stationed around the warehouse. William arrived first, alone as demanded. The briefcase containing Archie's false codes heavy in his hand. Dante waited in the center of the space. Vivian and Audrey bound to chairs behind him, both gagged but visibly unharmed. Punctual as always, Dante smiled. The codes? Release them first. That's not how this works. Then, we have a problem. Seraphina entered from the side door, hands raised. Let them go, Dante. You have what you really want, leverage over the Sterlings. Mrs. Sterling. So nice of you to join us. Dante's men shifted, weapons raising. Though I don't recall inviting you. You took my sister. Where else would I be? From hidden positions, Flynn's team watched through scopes. The signal would be a flare. Seraphina had one hidden in her jacket, waiting. The touching family loyalty, Dante mocked. It's almost enough to make me reconsider. Almost. You were never going to let them go, William stated. Of course not. Loose ends are bad for business. Dante pulled out a gun, aimed it at Audrey. But I might make it quick if you cooperate. Wait. A new voice called. Constance Sterling entered from the main doors, elegant even in the industrial decay. There's no need for theatrics, Dante. Constance. William's voice could have frozen blood. Finally showing your true face? Oh, William, always so dramatic. This is business. She moved to Dante's side. Did you really think I'd let you run the company forever? You're just like your father, all heart, no vision. My father built everything you're trying to steal. Your father was weak. He chose you over his own blood. You're not blood. You're a parasite who married a dying man for his money. Constance's composure cracked. I earned every penny. 20 years of playing the perfect wife, the supportive stepmother. 20 years of watching you get everything while Henry and I got scraps. Henry Dalton emerged from behind a container, sweating despite the cold. The codes, William. Just give him the codes. Henry. William's laugh was bitter. The loyal CFO. How much did she promise you? Equal partnership. CEO position. Henry's hands shook. It's more than you ever offered. I offered you a job you weren't qualified for and protected you when you failed. Repeatedly. Enough talking, Dante interrupted. The codes now. William set down the briefcase, kicked it across the floor. Dante gestured for Henry to retrieve it. Plugged the drive into a laptop. Code scrolled across the screen, convincing enough to buy seconds. Seraphina moved closer to Audrey, her hand finding the flare in her pocket. She met Flynn's eyes through a broken window. He was ready. It's not working, Henry said, panic rising. The authentication is failing. You gave me false codes? Dante's gun swung toward William. No, Constance said, her own weapon appearing. He gave you exactly what I told him to. She shot Dante twice, center mass. He dropped. Shock replacing arrogance. Constance. What Henry started. She shot him too. Loose ends, as Dante said. So messy. The warehouse erupted. Flynn's team moved, but Constance's hired security responded. Gunfire cracked like thunder. Seraphina triggered the flare, the magnesium brightness blinding everyone temporarily. In the chaos, she reached Audrey, cutting her bonds with the knife Flynn had given her. Vivian was already working on her own ropes. The woman was surprisingly resourceful. William moved toward them, but Constance intercepted, her gun trained on Seraphina. You ruined everything, Constance snarled. The perfect plan, years in the making. Your plan was flawed from the start, William said, stepping between them. You forgot one thing. What? I'm not my father. The shot was impossibly loud. William's body jerked, red blooming across his shirt as he fell. Seraphina's scream tore through the warehouse. She caught him as he dropped, pressing her hands against the wound. No. William, stay with me. His eyes found hers, unfocused but warm. Worth it. Constance aimed again, but Audrey, quiet, gentle Audrey, hit her with a pipe from behind. The older woman crumpled. Around them, Flynn's team had control, Sterling security flooding in. "I need an ambulance." Seraphina screamed. Now, the ride to the hospital blurred. Seraphina held William's hand, his blood covering both of them. He drifted in and out of consciousness, mumbling apologies and confessions in equal measure. "Don't you dare die," she told him. "You don't get to say you love me, then leave." "Bossy," he managed. "You haven't seen Bossy yet." The surgery took 4 hours. The bullet had missed his heart by inches, nicking an artery that required delicate repair. Seraphina waited, still in blood-stained clothes, refusing to leave. Vivian arrived with changes of clothes and updates. Constance is in custody. Henry's in critical condition, but expected to survive to testify. Dante didn't make it. Good. The board is meeting. They'll need to see William soon. They can wait. When William woke, the first thing he saw was Seraphina curled in the uncomfortable hospital chair, sleeping. Her hand still held his. He squeezed gently, watching her eyes flutter open. "Hi," she said. "Hi. You got shot. I noticed. That was stupid. Also heroic, mostly stupid." But she was crying, leaning forward to press her forehead against their joined hands. "Don't ever do that again. I promise to avoid getting shot in the future." "William?" "Yes? I love you too." The board meeting happened in William's hospital room, because Seraphina refused to let them move him, and apparently what Seraphina wanted now carried significant weight. Vivian had masterfully controlled the narrative. William Sterling, hero CEO, who saved his wife and colleagues from corporate conspiracy and organized crime. The stock price soared. Archie Wells presented the evidence against Constance and Henry, a paper trail spanning 3 years of embezzlement and fraud. The board voted unanimously to support William's continued leadership and to offer Seraphina a position on the charitable foundation board. "We owe you an apology, Mrs. Sterling," the board president said. "We misjudged you entirely." "Apology accepted," Seraphina replied. "Now get out. My husband needs rest." When they were alone, William pulled her onto the bed beside him, careful of his bandages. "You called me your husband." "Technically accurate. Our contract expires in 11 months. About that." Seraphina pulled out a document. Archie drew up new papers. No conditions. No time limit. No financial arrangements. Just marriage. "Seraphina, unless you don't want." He kissed her, deep and sure. "Where do I sign?" 6 months later, the Veterans Center held its grand reopening. The Sterling Foundation had transformed it into a state-of-the-art facility with medical services, job training, and transitional housing. Audrey ran the art therapy program, her confidence rebuilt through service to others. The small ceremony in the center's garden wasn't legally necessary. They were already married, but symbolism mattered. This time, Seraphina walked the aisle toward William with joy instead of desperation. This time, his smile reached his eyes. This time, the vows were real. "I promise to love you wildly, madly, without conditions or contracts," William said, his voice carrying across the small gathering of people who actually mattered to them. "I promise to keep saving you from yourself," Seraphina replied, "and to let you save me right back." Flynn stood as best man, Vivian as maid of honor. Archie officiated with tears in his eyes that he blamed on allergies. The veterans they served stood witness, understanding better than most that love was its own battlefield. When William kissed his wife, really his wife, the applause was genuine. No cameras captured it for public consumption. No hashtags trended. It was private, personal, real. That evening, in their penthouse that now felt like home, Seraphina found William on the terrace where everything had shifted months before. "Regrets?" she asked. "Only one. Which is that it took almost losing you to realize I'd already found you." She leaned into him, Manhattan glittering below. The city that had tried to eat them alive now just backdropped to something better. "We should probably tell Archie about the baby," she said casually. William went rigid. "The what? Surprise?" He spun her to face him, his hands framing her face, searching her eyes. "Really? Really. But the contract said, "Screw the contract. We're writing our own rules now." He lifted her off her feet, spinning her despite his still healing injury, laughing in a way she'd never heard before, free, unguarded, young. "I love you," he said. Madly. Desperately. Completely. "I know," she smiled. "I never expected that either." The sun set over the city, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. Somewhere, corporate wars continued, and contracts bound people to careful arrangements. But in their penthouse, two people who'd started as strangers protecting themselves had become something neither expected: a family, wild and imperfect and absolutely real. The ring on Seraphina's finger caught the dying light. No longer a shackle or a business arrangement. It was a promise. And promises, the real ones, the ones that mattered, those were worth fighting for, worth bleeding for, worth believing in, even when nobody expected them to work. Especially then,